In the noise of modern life, we're constantly told to do more, be more, prove more. But what if the real answer isn't in doing, but in returning? Returning to silence, to stillness, to clarity. In this video, we explore a different kind of journey, not to the outside world, but inward. You'll discover how distraction steals your peace, how silence sharpens your mind, and why emotional mastery is no longer a luxury, but a survival skill in the modern storm. This isn't about quick motivation, it's about transformation. Through ancient Stoic wisdom, we'll guide you in reclaiming your attention, reordering your environment, and choosing strength over reaction. If you felt lost in chaos, tired of chasing fleeting rewards, or simply ready to live more intentionally, this is for you. Take a breath. Lean in. Your return to inner freedom begins here. The modern storm and the forgetting of the self-modern life is a relentless whirlwind. A whirlwind of noise, intensity, and temptation, where we are pulled into thousands of fragments of information, enticing invitations from social media, fleeting but emotionally charged conversations, and seemingly harmless trivialities. We're swept along like a fragile leaf, drifting through a sea of people, news, comparisons, and expectations. And then one day, we realize we've lost the most important thing, ourselves. How long has it been since you spent a quiet morning just sitting with yourself? No phone, no music, no scrolling to see how others are living. How long since you asked, how am I really feeling? What do I truly want from this life? We often mistake the cause of stress, anxiety, and confusion as coming from the outside world. But the deeper truth is, they stem from our abandonment of our inner world. We've lost control over our emotions because we've gradually handed over the key to sensational news, judgmental glances, and imposed standards of success. Here's a painful truth. If you don't prioritize yourself, no one else will do it for you. If you can't control your thoughts and emotions, you'll be swept away like a rudderless boat on the ocean of life. And one day, you'll wake up exhausted, confused, and feeling like a stranger to yourself. To master your emotions and live with clarity, you must step outside the storm. You must return, not to the past, but to yourself, here and now. It all begins with a choice. You either continue living reactively, letting the world control you, or you rise, place your hands on the wheel of your life, and learn to steer with mindfulness, discipline, and inner strength. Peace doesn't come from the world falling silent. It comes from learning how not to let the world disturb your mind. And that journey, the journey of mastering your emotions, thinking clearly, and living with decisiveness, begins the moment you dare to face one simple yet powerful question. Am I still a priority in my own life? The silent thief. Distraction. There are thieves who don't carry knives. They don't break in at night. They don't shatter windows. But they are quiet, patient, and incredibly effective. They steal your time. They drain your clarity. They slowly extract your inner peace, bit by bit, and you don't even notice. What are they? A notification lighting up your screen while you're reading. A short video pulling you from your early morning into a 45-minute scroll. A pointless debate on social media that leaves you agitated all afternoon. Spam messages, bad news, or the noise in your head about things you cannot control. You call it entertainment. You think it's relaxation, but in truth, it's distraction. And distraction is one of the quietest yet most destructive causes of emotional instability, rising anxiety, mental fog, and impulsive decisions. Imagine if you lose just 20 minutes a day to distraction, that's more than 2 hours a week. But in reality, the number is much higher, because distraction doesn't just steal your time, it steals your mind. Every time you're pulled away from deep work or thought, It takes 10-20 minutes to fully return to focus. And in that gap, anxiety seeps in. It's not that you lack emotional control. You're simply being overrun by countless tiny distractions that leave no space for emotional rest. Have you ever felt exhausted without knowing why? No hard labor, no heartbreak, yet your mind feels cluttered, your heart heavy? That's the compounded effect of unchecked distractions. Stoic philosophy reminds us, if someone tried to hand your body over to a stranger on the street, you'd be outraged. So why are you so careless with your mind, letting anyone intrude at will? That question, if you really stop to think, could shake the very foundation of your lifestyle. This is no longer just about time management. This is about defending your inner sanctum. You must become the gatekeeper of your own mind. Starting today, observe, what are the things stealing your peace? Which app? Which person? Which harmless-looking habit is quietly dragging you away from clarity? Write them down, face them, then make a choice. Remember, you cannot think clearly, you cannot master your emotions if your mind is constantly being interrupted. You cannot live with decisiveness if every decision is infected by external noise. Silence doesn't come when the world gets quieter. It comes when you stop letting the world rent space in your mind for free. The art of self-control, escaping the maze of emotion. There is a kind of freedom that doesn't come from the outside. It doesn't come from your income, your job title, or the compliments others give you. It comes from somewhere deeper, your ability to govern yourself. In a world where people are tossed by their emotions like boats in a storm, the one who steers from within is the one who is truly free. Have you ever experienced this? A late reply makes you anxious. A thoughtless comment ruins your entire day. A negative post on social media keeps you up at night. And then you think, I can't control it. The emotion came. I couldn't help it. But that's an illusion. Emotions are not like storms. They don't come from the sky, randomly and uncontrollably. They are results of perception and choice. Stoic philosophy made that clear centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." What does that mean? It means when something happens, a criticism, a failure, an unexpected problem, you get to choose your response. You can lash out, blame, complain, or you can pause, breathe, and redirect your emotions towards something more useful. That's not repression, that's mastery. Like a skilled swordsman who never swings in panic. He moves with clarity, calm, and precision. So how do you become the swordsman of your own emotions? First, learn to pause. Emotions only turn into actions when you allow them. If you can stop for just a few seconds before reacting, you've already claimed 50% of the power. Second, ask questions. Ask, will this reaction help me? Will staying calm improve this situation? Am I seeing clearly, or am I clouded by emotion? Third, adjust your body. Stress is always linked to the body. When you breathe deeply, relax your shoulders, and sit upright, your brain settles too. Emotions ease. Rationality returns. And finally, practice every day. Like muscles, self-control is built through repetition, through observing your reactions, through choosing differently, again and again. You don't have to be emotionless, but you can be emotional without being ruled by emotion. And that is what makes someone free in a chaotic world, creating a space of stillness where the mind can rest. There's an invisible truth that strongly governs our mental life. Your outer environment reflects your inner state, and vice versa. If you constantly feel stressed, mentally cluttered, unfocused, or vaguely unsettled, take a look around you. A messy desk, a chaotic bedroom, no written schedule. your phone always buzzing or lit up, your mind, unconsciously, is being constantly shaped by a disordered environment. A phone on your desk is not just a device, it's a portal to 1,000 invisible noises. Every time it lights up, your mind is pulled away. Every notification steals a sliver of your presence, and then you wonder why you feel exhausted, even when you've barely done anything. Stoic philosophy isn't just about internal wisdom, it's about the art of organizing life, beginning with control over what you allow into your surroundings. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." That applies not just to thought, but also to your physical space. So do something small but incredibly healing. Reset your environment. Clean your workspace. A tidy desk invites focus. You don't need many tools, just what's essential for the task. A pen, a notebook, soft lighting. That's enough. Silence notifications. Your phone is not your master. You are. Turn off the things that jolt your mind. Place your phone out of sight when thinking deeply. Create a quiet corner. Even if small, carve out a sacred space, a sanctuary of stillness. It could be a reading nook, a windowside chair, or a spot where you can sit and breathe deeply without interruption. Bring nature in. A small plant, a landscape painting, fresh air. These help the mind recharge without effort. And above all, say no to chaos disguised as busyness. Being busy doesn't mean being effective. Doing more doesn't mean doing what matters. Every piece of noise you eliminate is a chance for your mind to breathe. You cannot master emotions if your environment constantly pulls you away from yourself. You cannot think clearly if your brain is flooded with junk signals. To hear your inner voice, you must first learn to silence the outside noise. Look around today. Is your space empowering you, or is it quietly draining you, day by day? The power of silent action, when nothing can shake you. There's a paradox in modern life. We strive to do more in order to be recognized, to be noticed, to avoid being left behind. But the more we crave recognition, the more we become vulnerable to emotional instability. Every compliment lifts us up, every criticism pulls us down, and when no one says anything at all, we become confused and start doubting ourselves. Meanwhile, those who master their emotions live differently. They choose to act in silence, not because they're afraid of being seen, but because they understand this. True strength does not come from applause, but from unwavering commitment that needs no validation. Do you remember the image of the pianist at the beginning of this journey? The spotlight lasts only a few minutes, but behind the performance are countless solitary hours of practice, missed notes only he heard, and moments of near surrender that no one knew about. And it is in those unseen places that inner strength is forged. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, be willing to look foolish." Because real transformation doesn't need noise. It's quiet. It's steady. It doesn't try to impress. It silently transforms from within. Silent action empowers you in 3 profound ways. First, it removes you from the trap of comparison. When you're no longer performing for others, you stop being influenced by how others see you. You no longer measure your progress against someone else's timeline. You know where you are, and that's enough. Second, it reduces anxiety. When you act just to be acknowledged, you're constantly worried. Do they think I'm good enough? Is what I'm doing being seen? But when you act for yourself, you only need one thing: honesty with yourself. Third, silence trains you to think clearly and act decisively. When you're not distracted by immediate feedback, you can listen to yourself more clearly. Your decisions are no longer reactions, but thoughtful choices born from inner stability. Think about the major decisions in your life. How many of them did you make in silence, without telling anyone, just quietly doing. And weren't those the ones that truly changed your path? Silent action is not weakness. It is the highest form of inner freedom. You no longer need to be seen to feel valuable. You don't need others' approval to know you're on the right path. You act because you know what you want. And every small step you take, quietly, keeps your belief unshakable. The disciplined schedule, a map for the steadfast soul. Picture yourself standing on a foggy road, unable to see your destination, unsure of where to go. In that haze, the human mind becomes anxious, restless, and easily swayed by the loudest noises, even if they lead in the wrong direction. Without a map, you get lost in your own life. That's why, in Stoic philosophy, a schedule is not just a tool for time management. It is a manifestation of clear thinking and a heart with direction. A disciplined schedule is the antidote to emotional chaos. When you don't know what needs to be done today, you'll be pulled by minor things, a meaningless call, a random video, an idle conversation. Each may take only a few minutes, but they drain your willpower, pull you away from clarity, and leave behind a fog of fatigue. You're exhausted, but you don't know why. Conversely, a clear schedule is like a solid rail. It carries you through the day without requiring constant decision-making in a fatigued state. You don't need to ask, "What should I do now?" because everything has been pre-decided in your clearest state. A person without structure cannot master their emotions. A life without structure leads to constant reaction instead of deliberate choice. A person who wakes up and immediately opens their phone, reads the news, scrolls through social media, sits silently in noise, has already sold their day to chaos. But someone who wakes up on time and steps into a simple routine, gentle exercise, deep breaths, a few lines of philosophy, planning 3 important tasks for the day, that person is cultivating an invisible but incredibly resilient inner strength. Because in that space, every action has meaning. It's not driven by emotions or chance. Every step, however small, moves toward a purpose set in advance. You don't need a packed schedule. You only need one with intention. In the morning, spend 15 minutes breathing, journaling, or reading something that nourishes your inner self. Start the day with clarity, not haste. During the day, identify 3 key tasks you want to complete. No more. Focus your full energy on completing them well. At night, turn off all devices at least 30 minutes before sleep. Write down what you accomplished. Don't let the day end with unresolved anxiety. These are not just habits. They are how you build the foundation for calmness and decisiveness. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "If you don't have a clear purpose, you will live a life of contradiction." And this rings truer than ever today. In a world where people live fast, react often, but don't know what they truly want. So stop. Open your notebook. Write down what a conscious day looks like. Keep it simple. Keep it purposeful. And repeat. Because peace doesn't come from doing more or less. It comes from knowing why you're doing it. The journey matters more than the destination. The art of loving small steps. One of the reasons modern people are anxious, quick to give up, and easily discouraged isn't because they are weak. It's because they cling too tightly to the outcome. They set big goals, dream of distant success, but lack the patience for the early steps. Slow, awkward, seemingly unproductive. And it is this mindset of waiting for something big to happen that breeds fatigue. Stoic philosophy doesn't tell you to achieve greatness. It only asks, can you control your actions today? Can you take one step, however small, toward what you believe is right? That is enough. When you focus on the journey, emotions lose their grip. The impatient are those afraid of falling behind, being left out, being surpassed. They compare. They pressure themselves. and they burn out quickly. But those who love the journey, even without reaching the goal, remain calm. Because for them, each day isn't a race. It's an opportunity to train the self. No rush, no performance, just presence and consistency. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Don't waste time debating what a good person is. Be one." Imagine yourself climbing a mountain. The wind is cold, the path steep, and the summit unseen. But if with every step you pause to breathe deeply, reflect on your progress, and feel the strength in your stride, then, even before reaching the top, you've already touched something powerful: inner freedom. No fear of failure, no pressure from time, no longer driven by emotion. And strangely enough, when you stop chasing results, results begin to arrive. Someone who writes a little each day will have a book. Someone who exercises for 15 minutes daily will become fit. Someone who builds a skill a little each day will transform, not in weeks, but in years. And by then, without fanfare or applause, they'll have carved their own path. You don't need to be great at the start. You just need to keep the pace. One small, consistent act each day. That is something the impatient can never do. So stop asking, "When will I succeed?" Start asking, "Did I live true to my path today?" Only when you dare to face every small, invisible step will you truly gain mastery over yourself, over your emotions, and build clarity of thought that can't be shaken by praise or disappointment. The power of silence. When you DONT speak, you hear yourself. There is a quiet kind of power, not loud, yet it transforms the entire life of whoever possesses it. That power is silence. Not the silence of helplessness, not passive acceptance, but the silence of someone who knows where they're going, knows what they're doing, and doesn't need noise to prove it. In a world where everyone is trying to speak more, show more, prove more, those who choose silence hold the real control. Reacting isn't always a sign of strength. Sometimes it's proof that you're being pulled by things unworthy of your energy. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let others speak ill of you. Let them judge. Your job is to maintain a steady mind, untouched by what you cannot control." Silence is a strategy. It is the invisible shield, protecting you from battles that don't deserve your attention. You've probably felt exhausted after arguing, explaining, defending, but do you remember the last time you chose silence and found yourself oddly at peace? When you don't speak, you hear more. Not others, but yourself. You hear the whisper of reason. You hear the voice of calm. And something strange happens. When the outside goes quiet, the mind becomes clear. No more being pulled by instant emotions. No more rushing to react. You begin to observe instead of react. Understand instead of resist. Choose instead of be driven. Have you noticed that the most decisive people often speak the least? They don't need to declare loudly. They don't need to win every argument. They observe, analyze, then act, precisely and with no regret. That's not coldness. That's the art of emotional control, something Stoicism has taught us for thousands of years. Try this. Next time you feel the urge to react, respond, defend, pause for 10 seconds. Instead of speaking, take a breath. Ask yourself, does this statement move me closer to my goal? Or is it just emotional release? If you can delay your reaction, you'll reduce anxiety, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and stay clear-minded in key moments. Then you'll realize something precious. Not everything needs a response. Not everyone deserves your energy. Not all words need to be met with more words. Silence, at the right time, may be the most powerful declaration of someone who has mastered their emotions and knows their worth. Remember, only in silence can you hear reason. And it is from that quiet place that clear, strong, and unshakable decisions are made. Writing down the mind, a mirror reflecting emotions and inner strength, there is a seemingly simple habit which, if practiced consistently, becomes a compass guiding you through emotional storms. That is writing, not for others to read, but for you to confront yourself, honestly, clearly, and without evasion. Writing is a silent act, yet it holds profound transformative power. When you put pen to paper, chaotic thoughts begin to take shape. Vague emotions are named. Anxieties of unclear origin suddenly become understandable. And in that very moment, you truly see yourself. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic philosopher and emperor, wrote almost daily, not for publication, but to remind himself to live according to reason, not to be swayed by emotions, not to forget what is essential. From those writings, the work Meditations was born, becoming a guide for millions. Why does writing help master emotions and clarify thinking? Because while writing, you no longer play the role of a reactor, but of an observer of yourself. You are no longer led by emotions, but become the commander of your own thoughts. Writing forces you to pause, reflect, choose words, and each pause slows your breath, reduces pressure, widens the gap between emotion and action. Imagine this. You've just had a day full of anxiety, stressful work, feelings of disappointment, a cluttered mind. Instead of letting everything settle unconsciously and repeating the negative cycle the next day, you sit down, open a notebook, and start writing, what made me most frustrated today? Is there something I did well that I'm overlooking? Tomorrow, how do I want to behave differently? Just 5-10 minutes each day, and you'll find yourself calmer, thinking more clearly. And strangely, issues that once overly worried you become more manageable, simply because you face them instead of avoiding them. Keeping a journal doesn't need to be elaborate. Just be honest. It's not a stage for display. It's where you can be real, without pretending to be optimistic, without forcing strength. You can write about things that made you angry, about things you know you didn't do well, about an unnamed sadness, or simply, you just need to write, today, I feel tired, but I won't give up. And those simple lines, day by day, will create a journey of healing and inner enlightenment. Writing helps you reduce accumulated pressure in your mind, observe and understand your emotional state, reestablish your personal value system daily, and from there, make decisive, calm decisions, not clouded by emotions. You can't master what you haven't clearly seen, and writing is the light illuminating the mind, helping you clarify yourself, thereby mastering your emotions, thoughts, and actions. Start with a blank page, a pen, and a determination to be honest with yourself. The art of saying no. Decisiveness is the power of a free mind. You can't go far if you carry everything with you. You can't live deeply if you let yourself be fragmented by dozens of trivial concerns. And you can't achieve clarity if you say yes to things you don't truly want. In a world that demands you to be always ready, saying no is an act of courage, not just to others, but sometimes to yourself. When you decline a meaningless meeting, refuse to prolong a senseless conversation, reject an old habit that makes you stagnant, you're not just saving time. You're protecting the purity of your mind, maintaining the boundaries of inner freedom. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Always ask yourself, is this necessary?" That question, if asked often enough, can become a sharp sword cutting through invisible bonds. Appointments made out of obligation rather than sincerity. Projects that exhaust you because others expect them, not because you truly want them. News, arguments, trivial worries that silently drain your energy daily. Each time you dare to say no to the unnecessary, you're saying yes to clarity. Clarity in life values, clarity in emotions, clarity in each step you take. Look back at a typical day. How many things do you do because you truly want to? How many invitations do you accept out of fear of judgment? How often do you pull yourself out of tranquility just to please others? You're not born to live by everyone's expectations. You're here to live true to what matters to you. The more someone knows how to refuse at the right time, the easier it is to maintain peace of mind. You can't master your emotions if you always say yes to distractions. You can't think clearly if you don't filter out the excess noise. You can't be decisive if your mind is constantly pulled by unnecessary choices. Saying no doesn't make you selfish. It makes you clear-headed enough not to be swept away by meaningless things. There's a saying by Epictetus worth pondering. If you want to progress, don't try to please everyone. A deep person isn't one who does a lot, but one who chooses correctly. A happy person isn't one who has everything, but one who knows to refuse the unnecessary. And if you're afraid that saying no will distance others, remember, those who truly respect you will understand and appreciate your boundaries. And those who can't accept a refusal perhaps never truly listen to you. Start with something small. Refuse to check your phone immediately upon waking. Decline an invitation you know will exhaust you. Avoid engaging in pointless online debates. You'll feel the difference. A fresh space in your mind. New energy for important tasks. A freedom that comes from within. Learning to say no is a journey, but it's the only journey that helps you live clearly and powerfully. Redefining success. Inner freedom is the ultimate goal. There are days you don't achieve all your goals. Times you feel inferior, left behind, lost. Moments you see others succeeding, shining, being praised. And you wonder, am I on the wrong path? In a world full of achievement pressure, success is defined by income, status, follower count, fame. But according to Stoicism, that's a trap, because all those things are beyond your control. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not the money you earn, not the applause you receive, but whether your mind is at peace." So what is true success? It's when you're no longer pulled by others' measures, when you don't need to prove anything, because you know you're living true to your values. When each morning you wake up, feeling light, clear, unhurried, and know you're on the right path. Even if it's slow, you can make a lot of money and still be anxious. Be admired and still lonely. Have everything and still feel empty. But you can't have peace without mastering yourself. Redefining success isn't abandoning ambition. It's redirecting that ambition inward. No longer just asking, "How much did I achieve?" but "How have I grown?" No longer just asking, "How do others see me?" but "Do I respect myself?" No longer just asking, "When will I reach my goal?" but "Am I living authentically each day?" Seneca once said, "We suffer not because life is too short, but because we waste too much time." Success isn't